This is Beach Talk Radio.
Good.
This is Beach Talk Radio.
Good morning, Mr. and Mrs. America, and all ships at sea. This is your captain speaking, Mean Gene. Mean Gene. The following will be a test of the ship's whistle, the sonar alarm, the cable alarm, and the atomic attack alarm.
Ladies and gentlemen, broadcasting live 100 feet from the Gulf of America. Here are your award-winning social media superstars, the hosts of Beach Talk Radio, Kim and Ed Ryan.
All right. Thank you all for coming. Good thing she's not here to give me grief about how I forgot to plug in the speaker and the microphones. And we appreciate you all coming to Wahoo Willie's on a cloudy Sunday. I don't think we're too upset about the fact that they're forecasting rain finally. We all need a little bit of rain. And the reason Kim's not here is, in addition to our dog having health things going on, she's doing a boat around with the folks from Walker's Marine at, I think it's at 12 o'clock right here from Snug Harbor. So she's going to be out there showing what's going on in the water and showing off a really, really nice boat. So let's introduce the man of the hour. The reason you're here is not to see me. It's to see the mayor of Fort Myers Beach, Dan Allers. All right. I think so, but that's my phone and that's your microphone, and let's see if it works.
Let's see if it works.
Go ahead.
All right. Yeah, I think it works.
Yeah.
Can you hear me?
Yes, I can turn it down. Thank you. Okay. Is that better? Better?
Can you control the volume from here now for that?
I can.
Look at you stepping up in the real world.
Got a nice little system here that we're setting up. So
very good.
So let's talk right at the beginning about something that kind of got launched. I don't know, Friday or Saturday, and it seems like there's going to be an attempt to recall John and Karen, the two council members out of the three that voted yes for Seagate, and they're going through the process. I know they're trying to canvass the neighborhoods for signatures to see if they can get the 10%. The process that I understand for recall is you have to have served 1/4 of your term, which is why I believe Jim Matterholt is not part of the recall, because he hasn't served a quarter yet, and this is really all about Seagate. So John and Karen are the ones that they're targeting. And I believe the names on the top of the recall are the former Mayor Ray Murphy and former council member Bill Veach. And then after you get 10%, the county verifies those signatures. Then I think you have to go and get 15%, and the county verifies those signatures. And then the county could call a special election within 60 days, or the council members have a chance to resign if they want to. So there's a whole process to go through. Both of those seats are up for election at the end in November of 2026. But I don't want to. You can talk about it all you want, but you got a new town manager coming in. That's the first thing he's gonna see when he opens the door is that they're trying to boot out two of the council members. So what do you understand about that whole process?
Well, you evidently understand the process better than I do. I don't know. Yeah, I've heard the exact same thing you just brought up. Timing obviously is not ideal with Will potentially coming in. But just in the brief interactions I've had with Will, he's been through a lot worse. I don't think this is going to be something that is too too frustrating or too high up on his worry list, if you will. But timing is, I don't know. I don't think the time. All I can say is, I know Karen and I know John and I know all my other fellow council members. I do not. There's not 1 ounce of anything in my body that leads me to believe they've done anything unethical.
Yeah.
Anybody that sits in that seat, I have the utmost respect for, because it's not easy. Before the storm, it wasn't easy. After the storm, it's even harder, and it does consume a lot of your time. And I feel for them that this is coming out, but it's the process. People have an ability to go through process, and if they want to go down that road, it's certainly their right. And not everybody agrees. I certainly haven't agreed with John or Jim or Scott, or we all don't always vote together. So if it is just because of a single vote, that's pretty sad.
But they didn't do that. Voting for Seagate is not illegal, even though everybody on the planet knows this is all about Seagate. They're trying, from what I understand, I mean, it's all the beginning of it. The email that I saw had something to do with changing the attorney, that they are claiming there was a violation of the Sunshine Law because you guys were on a Herron out. They wanted John Herron out. I think everybody wanted John Herron out.
They ran their campaign on that.
Right. And Roger, and that was quickly. They dispatched of those two quickly when they were elected. But I've read the string. I read the email string that John had about the attorney, that it wasn't the attorney that was hired. So that person never came before the council. And he backed out. They actually, John and Karen had contacted the same attorney when they were all looking for attorneys. And as soon as John found out that Karen had contacted that attorney to maybe apply for the position, John backed away from it. So there was no violation of the Sunshine. Believe me, it's hard to prove a violation of the Sunshine Law. If those of you that have been around for a while may recall that Dennis Boback and Tracy Gore were caught on tape at the Whale when it was there, talking about the Margaritaville lawsuit. That was stuff that was no doubt going to come in front of the town council. The tape recorder was sent to the state, and the state decided they didn't violate the Sunshine Law. So you really have to have your facts together when it comes to a violation of the Sunshine Law. But if it's about Seagate, just come out and say it's about Seagate. We all know that's what it is.
Yeah, I think we're cruising along and we're trying to rebuild and we're trying to get things going and we're trying to unify a community. I don't know if that'll ever happen. It's again, one thing that I love about this island, and it's one thing that also I hate about the island, is people are very passionate.
Yeah.
Right? And in time of crisis, people come together, and when things are running a little more smooth, it seems like they don't. So it's fine. It's it'll work itself out one way or another. It's not something that I think is needed. I think the Seagate process is going through. It's going down the road. It's going to go down, and it'll. If it comes back before us, so be it. If it doesn't, so be it. We've got other projects coming down the pipeline, so my focus is going forward, not backwards.
Right. Lastly on that too. I mean that we'll see how that whole, I don't understand do you have to sign it with a pen if you're going to be on the petition? If you've already gone back to Wisconsin, are you allowed to do it electronically? I don't know what all of those rules are as far as that goes. But
I was told that I have not seen it personally, but I was told that if you click on the link, it doesn't go anywhere. So I don't even know if it's a serious thing that's moving on. I don't know.
I see.
You'd have to talk to Ray or Bill. If those are the two that are the ones that are behind it, then you would have to ask them.
And when you learned that Anita has contributed to protect FMB, and Tom Torgerson admitted that he contributed to protect FMB, and he felt like, and I have a lot of respect for Tom because he's gone through the enema process of the CPD and the extortion process of having to donate land. And I'm kidding about the extortion, but he did give a lot of good public benefit for that project. So, I mean, when he says he thinks that the case should be at least played out in court, that's fair. I mean, it should be played out and see what happens. You guys might have to revisit it at some point.
Yeah, I mean, it's I did watch the show, and I did see Jim's show, and I saw Tom's show, and I saw Anita's show. I haven't watched the show from yesterday yet, but everybody's entitled to their opinion, right? If I think the attorney has said that people have the right to their free speech, and if your speech is that you are coming out against a project for whatever reason, I think go ahead and do it. Everybody knows the story of Margaritaville. They know what they had to go through to get what they had to get. It was substantial. There was a lot of public benefit that was offered. I had nothing to do with, I wasn't on the LPA at the time, so I had nothing to do with the approval at the LPA level or the council level. That was done before I came on council or the LPA. So, I don't know. I think Scott might have been on the LPA when it went through, and I think maybe Jim, but I wasn't involved in that. And they'll correct me if I'm wrong, but that was 2018, I think, is when the final approval went through. So that was 2 years before I came on. But I followed it closely, obviously, like everyone else. The Grand Resorts came out. We all had a collective, you're crazy.
Yeah.
And it went backwards. And now you see what we got. And I think,
but you also, part of that's important to mention is that when TPI saw that it was never going to be approved at that level, he organized a community of people, like people in the community. He organized a group of people to give him input on that and wound up convincing some of them on the scaled down version of what you see now.
And many of them were those that were
opposed,
very opposed to it. Mitch Pena was one of them. He was one of the people that I believe that they reached out to sit down and have the community meetings and what don't you like, what should we change, what shouldn't we change. And I think we can agree what came out of it was a project that, it saved the downtown. Everything sitting behind us, we've talked about it before. Had that building not been there, Lighthouse would have been gone.
Mm-hmm.
Pretty much everything behind it would have been gone. So, the codes work. You may not like the building, but I'd be hard pressed to find someone that hasn't been there to at least check it out.
Yeah. Yeah. And so I guess the things that I don't understand about a recall, and I haven't done enough research on it yet, is like, there are 7 specific reasons that you can't just willy-nilly recall somebody. There are 7 specific reasons that are listed in the state statute. And I think there's some mention of a recall in the charter, the town's charter. But I don't know who decides that. Like, what's going to happen is if you get the signatures, which I don't have any doubt that they'll be able to get the signatures, 10% and 15%, especially if you can get them electronically, which I don't know. But if you can get all those signatures, and then let's say Karen and John have a right to object, like they can say, listen, and that would send it into court, which would delay the whole thing. You do have an election. Those 2 seats are coming up in November of next year.
Well, if it gets that far, I mean, again, I don't know the process, but if it gets that far to where it does go to a special election, does that mean John and Karen can run for that seat again? I don't know. Does it? I don't know.
Yeah, right. Those are all good questions. I'm sure that Ray and Bill have looked into that and know all the answers, or they wouldn't have gotten this far. With it.
Bill and Ray both know I respect them. Again, we may not agree with each other all the time on certain things. But I've never had an issue with Ray, even before I was on council.
Me either.
He's sat in the seat that I'm sitting in. He's sat in as a council member, several times. He knows it's not an easy job. Bill has sat in the same seat. He's been on the end of things that haven't always gone his way as well. And I respect Bill for that. Everybody's entitled to their opinion, and if this is the road they want to go down, they're certainly entitled to it, and we'll see where it goes.
And just a one final thing on this, and I know Kim would be saying, move on. But the town council seats used to be 3 years. Now they're 4 years. Ray was on the town council when they were pushing for it to be 4 years. They should, I think, and I was so against that. There was no outcry for them to move to 4 years. I thought the 3 years thing made perfect sense. And so,
but it went to the voters on a referendum. And the voters thought it was a good idea. And now that I've been on council, I can tell you it takes you a year or 2 to get your feet under you and understand.
Fair enough.
Especially if you haven't been on the LPA or you don't understand, Muni code or how to find things or how to ask the right questions. It takes you a while to understand how it goes. By the second year, you start to have your footing, and then you're off and running, and you feel more comfortable. At least in my opinion, you feel more comfortable. The first year, you're kind of sitting up there, feeling things out, seeing how it goes, and asking questions, doing your research, all the things you're supposed to do. But you don't really start feeling confident until a year later. You're into it.
And I don't want anybody to think I'm defending.
What was the snort?
Because she already said move on. She's watching from home. I thought she was putting bandages on the. So
yeah, there are many other things to cover.
I don't want anybody to think I'm defending John and Karen. I'm not. They can defend themselves if they want to. Karen was scheduled to come on the show, but she canceled. She said something came up. She didn't ask to reschedule. And John's perfectly capable of defending himself. But I just want to say one thing. They don't really do themselves a lot of favors when Karen gets up there and she criticizes Anita in public like that. Now, I got to give her credit for having a pair to get up there and do that. But, I mean, it's Anita. I mean, I just think you don't do yourself any favors by doing that. Or when John and Jim go out to dinner and they take selfies of them going out to dinner. I mean, and the only reason I say that is that's not illegal, but there's so much hatred out there because of Seagate. Why would you even put yourself in the position to be criticized and put that on social media? And I just thought, and you don't need to comment on that. I just thought, maybe those kinds of things you might want to think twice about when the people are coming after you. They don't like the fact that you voted for Seagate. And now
when you have them on next time, you can ask them. It's not my position to answer for them.
I just wanted to be fair. I wasn't defending anybody. I just think that recalls they rarely succeed.
What's next?
Yeah, good point. Good point, Kim. Good point. Okay,
Kim, I got your back.
So, what is Dan Allers' vision for Times Square?
I had a feeling you might ask me that, and it's interesting. And I'll tell you just a quick story, and I think it'll play into your question. So yesterday was the first time, and probably since Ian, that Megan and I have had a chance to actually on a Saturday get away and try to have lunch somewhere. So we were trying to decide like where's a good place to go have lunch. We obviously frequent every place on the island, probably more than we should, but we do. And so I had to run off island to do something. I said, well, let's go to Bimini Bait Shack. I've only been there one other time, and it was before the storm.
Where's that?
It's just before you get to the causeway on the right-hand side. It's back by the Punta Rasa boat ramp. I will tell you this, Ed, that's the first time, this is the honest God truth, the first time since Ian that I actually sat there, and Megan will testify. She saw me looking around. It's the first time I actually remembered why I chose to live here. It's the first time in 2.5 years. And it wasn't a bad thing. It was the vibe of the place. If you've never been there, when you walk in, it's high ceilings like this. It's thatched. They've got up above the bar, they've got a band or a stage up there, and it all overlooks the water. And since Ian, all you see, all those mangroves now unfortunately are gone, but all you see is that water. And the garage doors were up, and the music was playing, and you're just sitting there having lunch. And it was packed, and the wind's blowing, and you hear the waves, and you see the boats, and I'm like, this is why we live here. So my vision for Times Square, if money was not an object and codes weren't a thing, that's what I would love to see in Times Square. A vibe like that, where you go to a place that's so magical, like Fort Myers Beach. When you sit down inside a place like this, you're like, I'm on vacation. I felt like I was on vacation for the first time in 2.5 years.
So does that vision include a 50-unit hotel?
You know what? If he's entitled to lodging units, he's entitled to lodging units. We don't know if it's going to come before us or not. Everybody watched the LPA meeting. If they didn't, I'm sure you've heard about it. He didn't say whether he was going to come or he wasn't going to come. He and Tina have asked to meet with me. I'm sure they've reached out to the other council members.
I cannot believe that
I'll meet with them. Probably next week sometime. I'll have a point to meet with them and see what they're.
Well, I mean, why would there would only be one reason why they're asking you to meet with them? I mean, if he was going back to the drawing board, he wouldn't be asking you to meet with them, right? I mean, you got to think he thinks he.
Or maybe they are. I don't know. I don't know.
Crazy.
We'll find out.
Crazy.
I can't talk about a meeting I haven't had yet.
I know. It's just like the thing that was, if you didn't watch the LPA meeting, I'm not going to get into it in too much detail because she's going to yell at me again. But Anita gave, now she doesn't need to do this, but Anita gave him some rope. Like, you want to go back to the drawing board? Like, that's really not her role or their role, but that's the way she is. Like, you want to go back to the drawing board? Hint, hint, you're about to get crushed 7-0. And she didn't say that. And then, so at the end of the meeting, Terry Prasad and Tina and the attorney walk back in. This is hours later. And Anita's like, oh, you came back. Like, she gave them a second chance to say, we think we want to rethink this. I don't know what they could have done after the vote, but it was almost like, well, I'm giving you a chance to. And then on top of that, you see Tom's proposal yesterday, 1 floor over flood. For some reason, Tom thinks he can make a restaurant work where there was a restaurant with a new restaurant. But Terry thinks the only way people are coming back to Times Square is if he builds a hotel.
Well, I mean, everybody's entitled. I haven't seen the show yesterday to see what the proposal looked like, but Tom has been running a very successful business there since before the storm and now after the storm, and people were doing it before. Obviously, building a building adds a whole new, element of cost to it, but it can be done. Whether or not it needs hotel rooms or not, it's not for me to decide, but it's the person putting the money up and whether or not it fits what we need to, what we want to see there. But can it be done? I've heard from people that it can, and I've heard from people that no, you can't. When Terry was having his thing in the Times Square, kind of unveiling what he was doing, and I had a lot of people say, well, this is what we need. This is what we need. If we don't do this, the island's never going to succeed. And I take offense to that, because I will be happy to show anyone the hundreds and hundreds and hundreds and hundreds of emails complaining about the traffic this season. People are here. They're coming. And I'm a firm believer, as long as you have a beautiful beach, this island survived long before most of these businesses were here, before any of us were here. The 40s and 50s, the shrimpers were here. I mean, it's going to survive long after us, whether or not one particular development happens or doesn't. It's going to survive. To say that the town of Fort Myers Beach is going to turn into some vast wasteland that's never going to have anybody come to visit, I think is delusional. In my opinion. As long as that water is there and beautiful and people are going to come and sit on that beach, they're going to come spend money. We're going to continue to get emails that the traffic is horrible. What are you going to do about it? I would be more concerned if I wasn't getting emails from people saying, how come it's, the middle of March and I can drive from Publix to the bridge in 3 minutes? What's going on? Why aren't we that would be more concerning.
Yeah. And you went on too long there. Oh, by the way,
sorry.
Dear, if you're going to watch the show and not come and be part of the show, don't comment and tell me to shut up, or text me and tell me to move on. Come and show up for the show. If you're going to keep doing that, it's very distracting when you're trying to tell me how to run the show and you're not here.
In full transparency, I think you miss her. You're using her cup.
Yeah, I do miss her. So, do you know anything about? Are there any discussions with the county about connecting Lynn Hall Park to Crescent Park to try and make that just could they 2020 that? Could they eminent domain that and buy it?
Could they? Probably. Has there been any discussions? Not that I've been involved in.
Bummer.
Yeah, I've not had any discussions with the county or anyone from the county involving making that a continuous park. Do I think it would work? Sure. Could the eminent domain it? Possibly. I don't know.
No, but I mean, then they would have to pay fair market value.
Yeah, I mean, it's not like you just take the property over, but it's an expensive piece of property.
Yeah.
Do I think it would be beneficial to make it a continuous park or have some sort of mixed use in there? I think mixed use is great. I'm a big fan of mixed use properties. But no, I have not had any discussions with the county.
All right. So,
and I don't believe Andy has either. I'm sure he would have told me if you had, but.
Well, being that you brought up Andy, your new town manager contract for $200,000 will come up on the. Are you allowed to talk about this?
Well, we're going to be voting on it, so probably not.
Oh,
but
okay.
I mean, it's public record. You could see what it is.
Well, I don't mean the contract. I just don't want to ask you questions that they're going to try and recall you for. So,
yeah, we'll be discussing it tomorrow. Will has already signed off on the contract, so he's agreed to the terms in it. Now we'll discuss it, at the council tomorrow. If there's any changes, not any changes, I'm sure it goes back to Will. And then we'll see if it gets ratified tomorrow, if it gets approved by the council, he will start on the 19th.
So he'll start on the 19th, and then will there be some kind of transition?
Yeah, Andy, we extended Andy for 30 days. So at least 30 days, and the option to extend 30 days if both parties feel it's necessary. So he'll be on until the end of this month at least. So there'll be if everything goes and passes tomorrow, it would be about a 2-week overlap of Andy and Will being here. And should Andy need to stick around more, then, we'll certainly have those discussions. It'll be up to Will at that point. I think Andy's intention, and I don't want to speak for Andy, but I believe Andy's intention is if Will gets the contract approved and he comes in on the 19th, is to hand over, the daily operations, obviously, to him, and he will fill in and help where he needs to help through the end of his contract at the end of this month. And if there needs to be an extension, we'll certainly have that conversation.
So what's going on at the new town hall? Is there work being done on it?
Yes. So we just got the sign off from the fire department for the couple little things that were left. We're shooting. Andy said they're shooting for June 1st to be able to get in the building. We're waiting on the obviously the elevator is what we're waiting on. But I believe they're going to try to start moving now that we've got the sign off with the fire department. I think we're going to try to, I think Andy's going to try to start moving people into the second and third floor because those have been ready for a while, and slowly start transitioning those trailers at Bay Oaks out because we've got that grant that's still hanging out there for those fields that we got to get it done. So they know of all of this. Staff is working hard to make sure it gets done, and I think they will. But time is of the essence.
Are you calling me?
No, it was an accident.
Okay, if
The
you
boat
want to
thing
call me and
canceled.
harass me on the show, then you need to come to the show. You need to stop commenting.
Dear, I'm coming down there.
All right.
I'm going to set you straight.
Okay.
Well, that certainly backfired on you, didn't it?
I mean, what? Either come to the show or leave me alone. I mean, I changed what I was going to say about the recall.
Be careful what you wish for, Ed. Right now, and she's playing the shark theme.
Captain Layler, please follow my wife. She's probably speeding and she needs to be written a ticket.
She's driving erratically.
Yeah. So, what were we talking? Oh, town hall.
Yeah.
So when is the first meeting going to be? You thinking June?
Yeah.
Shooting for June.
Shooting for June. You know, we're kind of in the hands of the elevator company right now.
Oh my gosh.
Can't open it until it's, ADA compliant. But there's been some questions about, is it going to be all used for town hall space? Yes, the majority of the building is for town business. There is one section on the second floor that will be open for people to use, whether it's nonprofits, whatever. It's depending who you ask, the north or the west side of the building. As you go up and come off the elevator, you take a right. It's back over there. It's a nice space. It used to be the spa that Estero Spa was in there, I believe.
I've never been in that building.
Anyway, it was set up perfectly for a town hall building, and obviously it's survived many hurricanes, so it worked out well. The bottom level will be the dais area, and the chambers will be on the first level. So
with Wi-Fi that works all the time during the meeting.
I'm sure it will. I'm sure it will.
So,
and then the second level will be where you have interaction, whether it's the water department, whatever you need interaction with. And then the third level is pretty much where, you don't have to have day-to-day interactions with the finance department, things like that.
I don't think I've asked you this. If I have, just tell me because I can't remember.
Okay.
So, because last weekend was Jim, and so I might have asked him, but if I ask you this and we'll just move on. Do you want to annex San Carlos Island?
You didn't ask me that.
Okay. What's your opinion on that?
It was brought up by Councilor King at our last meeting, and like anything that's brought up, I think it's worth. You want to have a discussion. If any council member has an item, I think it's worth having a discussion. Will it go anywhere or won't it go anywhere? I don't know. I have not heard from anybody that thought it's a good idea, but we'll see what Councilor King wants to bring up at the meeting, and there's a reason he wanted to bring it up, so I'm always willing to listen.
In all the time that, like, we're going on 7 years, and all the time I've been doing the show, not one person has ever come up to me and say, I would like us to be annexed, or I would like to
I
annex.
can tell you this is true though. I can tell you after the storm when we were all working over at Buttonwood for the first 6 months to a year, I can't tell you how many people from San Carlos Island came up to me and said, we need your help. We're not getting any help over here. Why is the boat still in the middle of my street? How come you guys are getting cleaned up and we're not? And so there was talk about it right after the storm, but that has diminished. I mean, I haven't heard from anybody in a while. Like Lee County, like everyone else, had a ton on their plate, a much bigger demographic area to do. Commissioner Sandelli, I reached out to him on their behalf and said, they're looking for some assistance. I think he stepped up, got what he needed to get out there and started getting it cleaned up. So right at the beginning, after the storm, there was a lot of chatter about it, but it in my opinion, it has since dispersed.
To me, that's like saying we want to make Canada the 51st state. I mean, what is the purpose of that? Now, everybody in Canada is mad at us now. We like the Canadians. We want the Canadians to come down. And I know the Gulf of America thing was fun and we got to sell some shirts, but nothing ever good came out of the Canadian thing. And it seems like the people on San Carlos Island want a strip club. Leave them alone. I mean, that's their right. They want to.
Well, I can tell you the neighbors around it don't, because I get emails about that all the time. Why are you guys, what on earth made you think it was a good idea to approve a strip club? It's not in our jurisdiction. We have nothing to say about it.
Yeah, and just because it's 33931, it doesn't mean anything.
Our jurisdiction ends at the base of the bridge.
The post office sets the zip code. Like, I live in Gateway, but our zip code goes outside of Gateway, and we're not trying to annex Lehigh because we have the same zip code. But I think the reason why, I think Anita explained this Friday, when they were going for incorporation, they didn't think I don't think they thought they could actually get incorporated with the rest of those people on the other side of the bridge. It just seemed like it was the tall buildings that started to get approved by the county, and you kept it to bridge, and that is how they got incorporated. That's the way it was explained to me.
Yeah, I've talked to Anita about it, and that's the same way it was. She explained it to me. There wasn't. They didn't feel that they could probably get it through with everyone in the 33931 zip code, so they backed it down to just the island, and it's been working for close to 3 decades. So
Right. Okay. The boat ride has been canceled because of the weather, so that's probably why she's coming down here to whack me around a little bit. And so you stay right in that chair and let her sit on the outside, please.
oh yeah, sure, I'll get in the middle. Yeah, right. No,
Okay.
that is
so,
not a Dan sandwich I want to be involved in. No,
Well, that
I'll get-
sounded creepy.
I know, I'm getting out of the way.
So the other thing that happened last week was the county attorney told Sanibel and Fort Myers Beach to F off. You can't have any money for your fireworks. Go find a way to find it yourself right now. And
Well, it was brought up at the TDC. Both the town and Sanibel sent a letter requesting through TDC funding to cover half of the costs. Ours was significantly more than Sanibel's because we don't have the land mass to be able to safely fire them off, so they have to be on a barge. They used to fire off the pier. So ours was $37,000 roughly to cover the barge cost, which is the majority of the cost, and then the fireworks. We had the discussion at the TDC, and they said, well, we can't do it just for two. We have to do it for the entire county if that's what we're going to do. And 100% agree with that. If Cape Coral's having, their red, white, and boom, or whomever is having their, to me, I think it's a TDC. It should be a TDC funded thing. If anybody thinks that doesn't bring people to the islands to watch the fireworks or to Cape Coral to watch the fireworks, either is not paying attention or is wearing blinders, in my opinion. It definitely brings people down here for those weekends that we have it. The county attorney, opined and said that doesn't believe that it meets the requirements in the state statute. However, I've heard as of this morning in other municipalities throughout the state, fireworks have been funded by TDC funding. So I'm going to dig into that and see if that's the case. How can it get funded in other counties but not here? And we'll see where it goes. It's,
so let's say you can't get TDC funding. What's plan B?
There really is no plan B. There really isn't. Before in the past, it used to be covered by 50% by the town and 50% by the businesses that the chamber would come in and recruit businesses to step up and pay for it, but it was at a much smaller cost. We had the pier. Now we don't have the pier, so it's much more expensive. Kelly Brothers, the barge company we've been working with, have given us the best deal that they can on it. I don't know. I'm sure Andy's been working on it. I haven't had a chance to talk to Andy this weekend to find out what the plan is now. I'm sure it'll have to come back to council to decide. Do we have the funding to pay for the whole thing or don't we? I think everybody loves it. I think it brings a lot of business here.
Yeah.
Certainly would reach out any businesses that are willing to help contribute to the fund. We, any dollar helps, right?
Do you think it's wise to maybe try and start a fundraising campaign now?
Well, you know what someone said to me yesterday, and I'll tell you who it was. I ran into Eddie Root, and he had a great, and I told him I'd give him credit for it because I thought it was a great idea. I was wearing a town shirt, and it was a blue collared shirt, and had the logo on it. And he made a comment about how nice it looks, and he said, "Has the town ever thought about selling merchandise?"
I brought that up. Before.
He's like, the town could sell merchandise, and I thought, well, God, that could be a good revenue source for, fireworks. You sell pullovers, you could sell things, whether or not it's legal or not. I haven't talked to the attorney. I don't know, but that's maybe it will raise enough, maybe it won't. But if someone wants to buy a nice pullover that has the town of Fort Myers Beach logo on it, I don't know.
See,
it's a good idea, I thought.
So you have to wait for the next TDC meeting, or what's the problem? Because it's May.
Well, it's been rejected, so I think it has to go. The funding has gone through the TDC. Now it has to go before the BOCC. So the next step would go stand in front of the BOCC and ask them to reconsider. And then they have the ultimate decision. Those 5 have the ultimate decision, decide whether or not the funding gets spent or not. Now, whether or not they would go against the attorney's opinion, I don't know. But
so really you were asking for $37,500.
It was $37,500. Yeah.
So I sent him a text yesterday because we have raised a little. That's a lot of money to raise. It's not the same as right after a storm where we raised $300,000 because people just wanted to help everybody get back on their feet. 75 people times $500 is $37,000. We put up the first $500 and then asked 74 other people to put up $500. I think we could do that in 1 week. And then maybe you go after TDC funds for New Year's Eve or next year or something. But I think if you wait, what's going to happen? You're going to cancel it?
Well, we had residents in the past that have donated $10,000 towards the fireworks. So,
but I think
maybe
when
they
you
want to
make it,
still donate. I don't know.
When you make it 500, you give almost everybody a chance to be part of it. It's
Sure.
like when we do the fundraisers on Facebook, I limit it to $30. Some people accidentally give $100.
Still a lot of money.
It is a lot of money, but on this beach, you can find, if you can't find 74, you can find 75 people to put on a recall petition. You should be able to find 75 people to donate to the fireworks. I mean,
Yeah, maybe. I don't.
well, I mean, does anybody think do you think that's a dumb idea? Oh, Debbie's clapping. She thinks it's a dumb idea. See? I mean, it's up to you guys. I mean, you would need to give us the go ahead to do it. And I think we could
Well,
do
I
it.
don't know. I don't know if that would have to be a council decision or not. I mean, we can't control what you do, but if you raise funds and you want to donate it to the town for a specific purpose, it's no different than anybody else donating money to the town for a specific purpose.
I see. All right. Well,
I don't know that you would need town approval to say, go ahead and try to raise funds. If that's something you want to take up as a Beach Talk Radio entity, that's up to you.
okay. I'll talk to my people when she gets here. All right. So one of the things I wanted to ask you about was yesterday, I don't know if you guys saw my walk around in the morning. I went up to Bowditch, which hasn't been touched. I ran into Alex King. It was nice to see Alex King enjoying a nice quiet walk with his wife and not doing a video in front of a house. But and then I came back down past the pink shell, and there's Rose out there with her hose, watering her median
Yeah.
and taking care of all the property in front of a broken, ugly green building. And her area looks fabulous. And then you walk down a little bit further, and it's sand and weeds. And how can, again, I'm asking you for permission to do something nice. There's a row of houses when you walk up to Bowditch that are so nice, but in the median that the town owns, that's your part of Estero, it's just so ugly. And I know it's not a big deal, but I think I don't use this word a lot, but even when you make things look pretty, I think it makes people feel
Well,
like,
it makes you feel better,
Yeah.
right? I mean, nobody
Yeah.
likes getting into a dirty car, right?
Yeah.
When your car is clean, you feel better. You know,
so I know
nobody
you
likes
guys,
climbing into dirty clothes, right? You want
and I make excuses for the town all the time. Like, I know you got a million things going on. You're trying to get people to knock their houses down or clean up their Dairy Queen property or whatever. But you would see volunteers line up left and right to do something like that. They would just love to do it. You saw what we did in Times Square. They love that kind of stuff.
Well, so people maybe have forgotten because it was pre-storm. We've got an interlocal agreement contract with the county to do the landscaping on Estero Boulevard. North Estero is ours. From the bridge south is the county's. They handed us the money that they were going to use to beautify the right of way, if you will, between the sidewalk and the curb. Obviously, the storm hit, so that got put on the back burner. There was some before the storm. There was some perennial peanut that was planted out there. I don't know if that was the best thing to do.
That's called weeds.
It's pretty weed. You know, I'm not a botanist, so I don't know, but it looks like a pretty weed with yellow flowers. But our staff was constantly out there trimming it and trying to keep it. It was, you know, it spreads out.
Yes,
It's
yeah.
a lot of ground cover, right? It's a native Florida plant. I believe it's a native. I don't want to be crucified. I don't know for sure that it is, but I believe it is.
Kathy will straighten you out if you're wrong.
Yeah. So, you know, the garden club has offered assistance to help design
There
that.
you go.
You know, for me, I think color, I love color.
Yes, that's
You know,
why
we
Rose's area looks so nice. She's got different plants, and I don't think Kathy from the garden club would approve of every single plant that
Probably
she has
not,
out there,
but-
but it looks spectacular.
Well, and I understand, again, this is my personal opinion. I understand the need and the want to have native Florida plants because they're hardy and they're this, but a lot of native Florida plants are dull in color, in my opinion. Sorry. You know, we have an issue at our house. We can't put, I pick all the plants. I'm like, oh, that's cool. That's light. I love that beautiful color. And then she's like, they're toxic to dogs.
Yeah.
Wah, wah. So
So
we're
are
not
fro-
getting
so are
those,
frogs,
right?
by the
So,
way.
right. So I understand you can't, but I think think about it, if you're driving down Estero Boulevard and you see vibrant color
Yes.
and you see, you know, it just is, it's inviting. It makes people feel comfortable.
100%.
It cleans the things up. It helps the sand
All
from
right, so
blowing.
answer my question.
What do you want? What was the question?
Well, can we go out there and do it without it being a major problem, or do you need it's town property?
I don't. Well, let's ask. Well, we'll ask the new incoming town manager. How about that?
All right, let's call him right now.
Give him a call.
So, I mean,
He's not officially a town manager yet.
One of
so
the things
we can
that-
call Andy. We have had the
True.
discussions in MMP meetings and have given direction to staff to start moving forward. And I know that they are working with design architects or whatever the technical term is for people that do the landscape layouts, landscape architects.
Yeah.
But so I know they're working on that, and I know they're talking with the garden club about planning it. I just want to see some color. I mean,
I
I
agree.
just think I don't want to see weeds. This is my opinion again. I don't like weeds. I don't color.
Yeah.
Low line color does two things. It's inviting. It keeps people hopefully from cutting through where there's no crosswalks.
Yeah.
It provides some sort of a barrier. It doesn't have to be big, tall stuff. It can be low-lying
No,
stuff that you can see
everything is right
out
on
your
the ground.
windshield when
She's
you're
got
pulling in.
all kinds of colors. She's
Oh, she
got
does a beautiful
rocks,
job
she's
there. I see
got
it all the time,
artificial grass.
She's always out there watering
Yeah.
it. And yeah.
What's funny, the funny part about what Rose was saying yesterday was she's like, she'll look across the street and see somebody that's redoing their house and they have a little extra grass that they throw in the dumpster. Well, she's jumping in the dumpster and get the grass out so that she can cut it. And put it
But
in.
she's spunky, isn't she?
Oh, yeah.
She's a
She-
sweetheart. If you
and
hadn't a
she-
chance to meet her, she's a sweetheart.
And she walked down with me on the way back to Lynn Hall Park, and she knows almost everything about every condo building. Like she's right on top of those things. And unfortunately, there are still too many condos closed up on the north end. I mean, and everybody's now, it almost seems like it turned from the insurance issues, which everybody was having, to now jackass contractors who either can't do the job or they can't finish the job or they go bankrupt.
Or they disappear and go where the money is now. It's when you get storm chasing contractors, that's what they do. They chase the storms.
So the other thing I wanted to bring up with you, I keep looking over my shoulder because I know I'm going to get whacked in the back of the neck as soon as she shows up. Is that her?
She's gonna sneak up on you and it's gonna come through this little slat in the screen and you're gonna.
One of the things that
It was Kim with a candlestick.
is the development order. You guys, the town passed the development order, the development agreement, with the original intention of helping the mom and pops. That you wanted to cut through the red tape. Correct me if I'm wrong, but you wanted to cut through the red tape, maybe save them some money on fees and things like that, and get them maybe rebuilding quicker. And so far, it's only been Seagate and Terry Prasad, and that's not really mom and pop. So.
Well,
does that need to be dissolved?
I don't know if it needs to be dissolved. I've always had an issue with the development agreement since the beginning. I've pushed back on it pretty hard because I feel it takes the staff out of, it takes the staff out of the negotiation. Staff really doesn't have any, whereas like a CPD or an RPD, it shows you this is where the air conditioner is going to go. It shows you this is what the rooms are. It shows you where this is the driveway. It shows you all the things that you need for the staff to evaluate and say this is compliant with the comprehensive plan or land development code, or it's not. I don't know in its current state that the development agreement, how we have it set up, does that. Essentially, it just says, here's the height, here's the width, here's the minimal things that you can do. But it really doesn't, what you approve, it could look completely different the way the development agreement is set up. It can say, unless you have in there, it has to look exactly like what this picture looks like. It could say you can build it, we'll just say 50 feet, and it can be 10 feet off each setback, and whatever is the box can be the box. It just can't. So it's very vague. And I know in speaking with Sarah and other staff members, this entire development agreement gave them very, very much concern because in order for it to get to the LPA for review, staff has to review it. And I think at the last LPA hearing, I think Jim Dunlap was the one that questioned staff. Did you guys negotiate this, or did this just come forward on behalf of the applicant?
Talking about the Times Square proposal.
Yeah, and I believe it was Jim Dunlap that brought it up. And,
yes.
And Sarah said, no, we did not negotiate this. So it was brought forward.
It was
Now,
kind of came to a stalemate or something. They couldn't agree on it.
And it doesn't give you, and again, this is my opinion, it doesn't really give you a concrete recommendation from staff. It's just kind of, if you agree with all these deviations or all these things that they're asking for, then we recommend approval. If you don't, then we recommend denial. Well, that's not really a recommendation. And, I believe our staff is there. They're very educated. They know exactly what they're doing. Their job is to make recommendations. And I did push back on the Seagate on Sarah a little bit too hard, which I did apologize for, but I did push back a little bit too hard that, we want, at least I want direction from staff. Do you recommend approval or you don't? Now we can disagree with staff or we can agree with staff, but at least I want staff to be able to say, we don't agree or we agree because X.
Right.
And I don't know that a development agreement does that, right?
Yeah.
And
it also puts the town manager in an uncomfortable position. He's got to negotiate this. It's like you're trying to rebuild a 7 Mile Island from a Category 5 hurricane, and now you're asking Andy to negotiate with Seagate on a project, or Frankie, whoever it is.
But at some point, the town manager is going to be a town manager's job is not to set policy. Their job is to implement policy. So a policy decision should go to the LPA for recommendation and then to the council. That's the way it should work.
Right.
So at some point in a development agreement, whether the the manager approves or doesn't approve of it, they're probably, most of them, I would think, I can't speak for them, but I would think they would probably say, let's let this go to the policymakers and let them make a decision. We've taken it as far as we can as a staff. And I think that's unfair to them. I think it's unfair to the developers that are coming forward. But I think the intent, to your point, Ed, was the discussion at the beginning was people want to know what they can build before they put all this money into a CPD and all this. Well, I would argue any homeowner out here wants to know what they can build before they have to go through the process to build their house.
It's not really fair.
So, if a homeowner has to come in and ask for variances and all this, they have to design their home first, just like a CPD process. They have to design their property to be able to bring in to ask for permission. So it doesn't create anything for the homeowner that a development could possibly have. So do they work? Do they have a place? Yes, they were in our code before we set the parameters of what it is. Maybe we need to look at those parameters and adjust them. I don't know. It's something to me just feels amiss, and I think it needs to be looked at again.
And Patrick tried to clarify it because he did listen to Anita's. Patrick Van Ness used to be on the LPA, and he was kind of the driving force, I think, along with Scott on the town council for this to be approved. And he said there were three. He tried to clarify that there were supposed to be three different levels: one for the homeowner, one for the. And you could always reject the one from the, I guess the theory was you could reject the one from the big developer, but that didn't happen.
Well, the concern, and I don't remember the exact details of what was laid out in the three tiers, I guess you would call it, that were presented or discussed. But the fear was, does that create spot zoning? Does that create, why are you letting someone at this level that it had to be fair across the board for everybody to use the same process? And there are people that smaller developments could use the development agreement as it is in place right now, but they haven't because it's very difficult. It's a very difficult thing unless it's in those 30 or 40 bullet points of approvals. Or it's very hard to hold someone's feet to the fire when it comes to the land development order.
Okay, so this is not a question because I know you're gonna. You guys, do I seem nervous? Do I seem a little nervous? You guys,
yeah.
So
I didn't think you were afraid of anyone.
This is not a question because you're voting on it tomorrow. But the Moss Marina, can you guys applaud if you're in favor of the Moss Marina project behind us? Oh boy, are you opposed to it? Okay, are you awake?
They're watching for Kim too.
No. So
they're not going to tell you she's coming.
And I didn't bring this up to talk about the project because I love it. I think that Patrick Van Ness, who's from the neighborhood company, who's batting 1,000 right now, he's not missed out on a project. He's promised that his presentation is going to be 30 minutes or less. So when you guys watch that meeting tomorrow, he's on the clock, and if he can make that presentation in 30 minutes or less, I'm going to donate $500 to the women's club tomorrow, right there. Yeah. Because
that's not fair to Patrick.
It's fair to you.
It's not fair to Patrick and or the women's club because you don't know how many questions the council is going to have.
Well, you allow people to do a presentation before questions.
Oh, so okay, I get.
So from the minute that he says hello to the minute he says I'm ready for questions, that's 30 minutes.
Well, he can take as long as he wants. As far as I'm concerned.
Well, you guys all watched the LPA. It was like 6 hours. I mean, he covered every single detail.
It was very thorough.
He was describing the color of the paint on the third floor of the second hotel building.
Sure.
That's how detailed he got about the Moss Marina
It was very
project.
thorough. It took me, I will admit, it took me 3 days to get through the entire. I would, when I had time, I would watch 2 hours, and then the next day I'd watch 2 more. So it did take me 3 hours to get through, or 3 days to get through it, but I got through it.
And Anita's like me. She takes 4 breaks during a meeting. I mean, it's like there's a lunch break and 4 pee breaks in the morning. And
yeah, we have that same argument. Anytime we travel, I'll drive until I need gas.
Yeah.
Megan, on the other hand, we got to stop a couple more times. If we have the dogs, it's even more, but I'll drive until it says E.
Yeah. So there is a question that I couldn't answer from somebody that was that emailed it to me that wants to know, is the old town hall property, is the town paying taxes on that property?
No, it's a municipal building.
So that's what I didn't get. So they don't, you wouldn't be paying taxes to yourself.
That's my understanding. Yes.
Okay. Well, have you guys discussed what you might do with that property lately?
We haven't had a lot of discussion. We did talk once about, there was a developer that was interested in doing a mixed use commercial down below, and then workforce housing or affordable housing, whatever you want to call it, above it. We had that discussion at M&P. It didn't go anywhere. But that's the only discussion that's been had with that property. There's been talk about, could you do a parking garage above it? But there's been no official direction or discussion about it with residential at the bottom. Again, a mixed use. Does that make sense there? Does it make sense to eventually, at some point, I think we're going to need some sort of cover for some of the equipment that we have.
Mm-hmm.
So does it make sense to use part of that property like it's being used now to fence in our equipment? So we haven't had any formal discussions on what's going to happen with it yet.
She's by Bass Road, everybody. I'm just tracking her right now. I
Stalking
don't know
her.
if she's going to make it by the time we. So I know you wanted to talk about the lighting. Give everyone an
Yes,
update on those little tiny
yes.
red turtle lights that are being put up.
Yes. Well, the first thing I want to tell anyone, I did get an email, bless her heart. I don't remember what her name was, but she was upset that a light was being put at the end of on the edge of her property, which is in the town's right away. And she said, I don't need a light here. I don't want turtles to come to my driveway. And I said, well, ma'am, the turtle lighting is not to attract the turtles to your property. It's to retract them from coming to your property.
Can you please forward me that email so I can?
No, it was, I mean, it was fine. So yes, side streets, if you haven't been paying attention, they've got about 210 poles already erected with the lights on them. They got about 80 more to go for the entire island on the side streets. They have started putting the poles up on the south end of the island. You'll start seeing the bases get reconcreted back in. If all goes well in the next 3 to 4 weeks, you should start seeing some of those lights being turned on.
Sweet.
So there's going to be, and I want to read this. I know you don't like reading things, but I want to read it because I think it's important. So, because I didn't know this until our meeting this week, there's going to be 23 what they call load stations throughout the island. So because it's not an FPL owned property, it's on the unregulated side of FPL. They have to have what are called load stations, which is a fancy word for a metered area to be able to meter the lights. So there's going to be 23 of those throughout the island. First one that'll go up will be down here by the bridge somewhere, but they will be located throughout the island. So I wanted to read the addresses of where they're going to be so that you're not surprised when they show up there and they're putting this load station. It's not obtrusive. There's ways that you can mitigate what it looks like. But I just wanted to make sure people knew ahead of time because I didn't know about this ahead. Well, I'm going to put on my spectacles.
That's a lot.
It's 23 of them.
You're going to read every street?
I'm going to read. Yeah, it'll take 2 seconds. God, nag.
Just she's getting closer is what I'm worried about.
So 8387 Estero Boulevard, 8170 Estero Boulevard, 7830 Buccaneer Drive, 7404 Estero Boulevard, 160 Linnell Road, 6614 Estero Boulevard, 120 Albatross Street, 140 Driftwood Lane, 5920 Estero Boulevard, 5801 Albertine Avenue, 5102 Estero Boulevard, 5005 Madera Road, 116 Coconut, 3950 Estero, 123 Connecticut Street, 3001 Estero Boulevard, 155 Bay Road, 2001 Estero Boulevard, 1836 Estero Boulevard, 1207 Estero Boulevard, 742 Estero Boulevard, 457 Estero Boulevard, 320 Estero Boulevard, and good night.
So now I don't even know why you read those out.
Because people are, when they start seeing it, they call and they're like, why am I getting a poll or why am I getting this? So at least it's out there. You can go back and watch it and you know if it's coming in your neighborhood.
All right. So those are going to have the turtle lights on them. They're part of the whole.
No, they're where the power will distribute to the lights.
I got you. So when will all the lights be in and the lights be turned on?
They said they're still on path to be done by their November 1st.
So, okay, the beach renourishment project is winding down.
Yeah.
I think you're going to have it finished by the end of May or June.
That's the hope. Barring any unforeseen circumstances, that's the hope.
Can I get a round of applause for Chad and the job Chad has done?
Poor guy.
You talk about
he's been working hard.
He's working with the people on the beach, and then he goes out there and he does his videos.
He was out last weekend too, handing out flyers. Remember, it's turtle season. Remember to close your blinds.
Okay.
He was running all over the island handing out pamphlets.
So he sent me a picture of the first night that they took pictures of the lighting on the beach, and he was like, he was so happy about the way the picture looked because he's feeling like it was a great night. It wasn't perfect. It's never going to be perfect on the first night, but the pink shell had all new turtle lights in, turtle friendly lights. And there were, there were all those lights along that area there, turtle friendly. So people are, following the rules, even though it's like you got to do it on a dime. You got to turn it on a dime and turn your lights off and things like that. But he was very happy with the first night.
Good. Yeah. I mean, we've all lived here. We all know what we're supposed to do. If you're in view of the beach, you got to make sure that they can't see the light.
So the beach renourishment, the beach looks great, man. I mean, talk about telling the TDC what they have to promote here. I mean, they should be doing a video of the entire new beach over there.
Well, and Sanibel Causeway just opened on the 1st, so that's beautiful. If you haven't had a chance to go over and check it out, I highly recommend that you do. Lee County did a great job in setting that up with the parking spaces. It's really nice to see that back open.
What have you heard about the pier?
Nothing more than anybody else has heard. They're moving forward in 27, 28.
What have you heard about Lynn Hall Park or Bowditch?
Same. I think Bowditch, Commissioner Maleka would be able to answer that better than I would, but I think Bowditch is still in the FEMA circle, and I think Lynn Hall Park, I think that's been approved, but again, I don't want to speak for Commissioner Maleka. He'd be able to tell you better than I would. I know that it's all in the process. It's all going to be done.
Is there anything you want to update people on the FEMA insurance discount?
Just that we did get official letters saying that as of November 18th, we will be off of probation. And there's
this year
of this year. Yes. They'll schedule a meeting with staff to go over the review to make sure we can get back in the community rating system and potentially get our 25% discount or even a bigger discount back. But you have to be approved to get back into the program. Originally, we were told you had to wait 2 years to come off probation. When we went up and met with FEMA in DC the last time, they told us, well, that's not true. You can instantly go back on it, which was news to us. So that was great news. Our conversation, because a lot of people have asked, well, what was the conversation about? It was essentially, well, here's the documentation that we've had that you've told us, and now you're telling some of this isn't true. We just give us the direction that you want, and we'll be more than happy to make sure it happened. And we had a really great 2-hour meeting with them. Ever since then, the communication between staff and FEMA has been excellent. That's what they tell me. I haven't been in the meetings, but every single week Andy calls me. He's like, it was excellent. Any question we've had, they've answered immediately. Obviously, we got that letter pretty quickly. So I think the communication has really improved, and it's really helped, and it's got us to the point where we know at least we will be off probation. Now staff is very much focusing on making sure we get back into the community CRS program, and our goal is to at least get the 25% back. It's going to be in the hands of making sure that we're doing everything that we're required to do. Staff has already implemented the new rules in the FEMA handbook as far as when it comes to flood mitigation. So those of you that have sent emails and said, after Milton, why was somebody in my driveway using a tape measure to measure? Well, that's some of the stuff that you have to do now. You have to record how high the water was for the flood insurance. So there's different things in the FEMA handbook now since Ian that have changed. We've implemented those, and we believe we're going above and beyond to try to make it even more resilient through our floodplain management policies. So our goal is to do that, but they have been very, very clear, and I'm going to be as blunt as I can be about this. They don't want to see containers. If you have containers, if you have 2 containers welded together, if you have 2 containers connected for whatever reason, they have all but said you will not get back in the community rating system if those are there. The Sea Great Plaza ones are gone. You see the ones from the Goods Hardware store are gone. The ones on the Fire District property are soon to be gone. There's one down at Gulfside 12 that has to go. So that's their staff is working with them.
Is the Sun and Fun guy considered a container?
No, their containers are gone. Their fencing, however, my understanding is that is not up to code, so they've been violated for that, but their containers are gone. The point of contention with FEMA right now are containers, because they are essentially floating missiles. So we're coming up to flood season, so the town is going to be very aggressive in making sure that if I don't want someone to be one property that holds up the discount for the entire island.
So is La Ola considered a container? Well,
obviously we know La Ola is a point of contention with FEMA. The magistrate has ruled on behalf of the town that they are in violation of the floodplain regulations. It's going through the appeals court, but unfortunately he's going to have to go.
So can you confirm or not whether or not he's being fined $250 a day?
He is, yes.
He is being fined.
As of March 1st, the ruling from the magistrate was You're not in compliance. It's $250 a day. So as of March 1st, Loyola is being fined. The property is being fined $250 a day. Last check, it was at like $14,000.
Okay.
Now it is going through the appeals. And again, I don't want people to get hung up on dollar amounts because the appeals court could say they're in full compliance. We don't know. We don't know what they're going to say. But as of right now, there has been a ruling. The ruling is that they are not in compliance, and therefore the $250 a day is accruing.
Okay, you realize that there's a miscommunication somewhere because
Zero miscommunication.
Because
if
Tom
you go
was-
back and watch a magistrate hearing, the town asked, like it does for every single magistrate hearing, it hasn't changed. They ask, we believe they're in, if you find in favor of the town, we want $250 days, which is state law. We can do that to be applied. It was very clear. Now, did someone come out and reiterate 3 or 4 times in the magistrate meeting that you're going to be fined at $250 a day? No, but that's what the ask for was the town, and the ruling was in favor of the town. I understand their argument about that, but it was very clear that it was going to be started at $250 a day. And if at least in what I've been told from our attorney. So
I think what you're going to find right now is that you made major news because even John King said, John King told me, I asked that they not be fined. And I don't know if he has the power to do that, but there was an indication from Mr. Yazzo at the meeting that there were not going to be any fines until the court decided what the result was of that whole thing. Now, I don't know. I'm just
the court is the magistrate ruled on it.
Not that court, the other court, the court that it's in now.
Well,
but he does. So obviously he doesn't. Tom doesn't have the power to say we're going to hold off on the fines. What you're saying is the magistrate ruled in favor of the town.
Yes.
The fines go into effect.
Yes, as of March 1st.
Whether Tom and Chris understand it that way or believe it that way,
that was the request from the town through the town attorney. You can't run. Yeah, right. Do I have to get out of the way? I'm the first line of defense here. I don't know. She might Jimmy Snuka right over the table.
How fast did you drive? How fast did you drive down here? I was watching you. I was watching. Get over here. You can't not get over here. Everybody wants to see your hair. No, so I just think that they're under the impression they're not being fined. So I don't know who's.
Well, I can't speak for them.
Can you guys clarify that tomorrow at the meeting, just so everybody in the universe knows?
I'll be happy to ask Nancy to clarify it, but this came from Nancy's mouth. I'm not telling you anything that she didn't say. So
I think that Tom and Chris are under the impression that they're.
I had a conversation with Chris.
Oh, you did?
Yes, I spoke to Chris on the phone, and he, to your point, he didn't think that he was being fined.
Okay.
Because it was going through the appeal process. I have been told from our attorney that's not the case. The fines are accruing as of March 1st.
Okay.
I believe they've already received a letter stating that.
Oh, I didn't know that. But we were focused on other things yesterday, and I didn't want to muddy the waters with that. But so in the past, when Monica, the special magistrate, the regular magistrate, rules on things, she says right out, flat out, this is what the fine's going to be. You're going to be fined. You're going to pay the fine. Now, Lanigan did not say that. He was almost like, oh, it sounds like you guys are working things out. And, get back to me when you work things out.
This is where the legal beagle stuff comes in. You got to look at the legal. The legal ask was if you were found in noncompliance, so the magistrate ruled as of, I think it was March 4th.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
You had to follow up, but the fines would start at March 1st or March 4th, whatever the date is. But if you are not in compliance by that day, the fines will start to accrue. That was the ask from the town, which has been the same ask for every noncompliance structure.
You didn't single them out.
Yeah,
that's normal procedure.
It's normal procedure. If you're a second offender, like one other property on the island, they're at $500 a day.
Right.
A repeat offender can go up to $500.
He's talking about the illegal parking lot guy.
So it can happen. So it's not like it's something new. Now, whether or not, you'd have to ask Tom, and Tom would have to ask his attorney if they understood it that way or not. I can't speak for them, but I'm just telling you what I was told. And again, everybody loves Loyola. I love Loyola. It's not a thing on Loyola, but if it's one of the properties that has to come into compliance to be back in the CRS rating, you got to come into compliance.
Jerry, your hair has never looked better. I mean,
I can
really,
smell the brake dust from
super fabulous.
Scooby-Dooing backwards, aren't you?
No, speaking of the illegal parking lot Nazi, so he also owns the Seagrave Plaza. There's like a war going on in the Seagrave Plaza. Like Mr. Himmelstein owns the soon-to-be furniture store. This is what I love about small towns. Like they hate each other so much, Mr. Himmelstein and the parking lot Nazi, Carmine, or is it Carmen? Whatever his name
Do
is.
you know that for sure?
I mean, they called the cops on each other because Carmen was trying to put a sign up that said Seagrape Plaza, and Himmelstein had these illegal containers out blocking the sign. So he tried to squeeze in on the sidewalk so he could hang his sign up, and they called the cops. And there was the cops were, it was a silly thing. And now, so he moves his containers off the island, and now he's got the big red bus blocking the Seagrape. It's the big red bus. Like, can you have that there? Is that a permittable vehicle? That's
a good question. I don't know.
I have nothing against Himmelstein or nothing against. Well, I do have problems with the parking lot Nazi, but poor Brian and Stacy are trying to run the pancake house, and you can't see the building from there. And can they just move the bus? Like, go put it in Carmine's illegal parking lot and have a fight over there. But poor Brian and Stacey are trying to run a business. They're the only ones open in the Seagrape Plaza, and these two jabronis are out there fighting with each other. I mean, only in fucking Fort Myers Beach does this kind of stuff happen. I mean, but the bus has a tractor, like a trailer attached to it. Like he's just trying to block the building. Now Himmelstein owns the property out front. He's going to build a nice restaurant.
It's his parking lot.
Yeah, it's his parking lot. Parking lot. Yeah. Yeah, the whole fighting thing is just, the whole thing is goofy. So, I mean,
the position from the town is we don't get in domestic disputes.
Oh, stop. But Brian and Stacey are like, hey, we're over here on the other side of the bus.
Everybody loves those guys. People will find them regardless.
Come on, dear. Step in here so you can grade the show. Great dance performance today. Ladies and gentlemen, the star of the show is here.
No. You sure?
Yes, dear. Sit. Oh, I only brought 2 chairs out.
I better get out of the way.
No. I think that, you did a great job trying to corral him in.
What were you angry about? Like what you knew I was going to ask those questions.
I know, but we're trying to stay positive, and you're just get in that negative zone. And
what was the negative zone? I didn't ask for a recall.
Now you see why I didn't want.
I didn't ask for a recall.
No, I'm not talking about that.
Well, what
that
part
was new.
The Prasad
Times
thing.
Square thing.
Listen,
like, let it go.
The thing that those of you that were here at the show last week saw, that the people that were watching the show didn't see, was that Terry was standing right here, like out of the view of the camera.
You could see his arm.
Nobody on the show could see. But as I'm reading the ads, he's standing like looking at me, like gawking at me, like he was trying to confront me. Like, because I was obviously being negative about the project, but I don't know if he wanted to come on the show or he wanted to prove me wrong. It
sounded like he was saying that he wanted to set the record straight. So he feels like you have the record misconstrued.
Right. Well, he set the record. We invited him on, and this was Kim's idea. She said, you should invite him on the show. Mm-hmm. And I said, I'll invite him on the show. He'll never accept, because, I mean, why would you accept? Like, all I've been doing is criticizing you.
So you did the Monday thing.
I sent him a text. He said, yeah. Oh, okay. I was like, oh shit. Now I got to write a bunch of questions down. So I asked him about the Dairy Queen property. First of all, I want you all to know out there that he made it sound like we set up some kind of agreement where I wasn't allowed to ask him questions.
I should have stayed home.
I've never done that with anybody. I didn't do that with him. I totally planned to ask him about Dairy Queen and the Fresh Catch building, because, those are fair questions. And so, I mean, that's how that whole thing came about. And we had everybody loves Times Square. That's the thing. It's like sacred land on this beach.
And I think the point has been made clear. Everybody wants to see something happen in Times Square.
Right.
Yeah, there's just a difference of opinion. Yeah.
Well, there's a fine line.
It goes all the way from a park to have it just be a park to a Disney theme inspired.
Well, there's a fine line between want and need.
Yeah, but I think I was pretty honest yesterday for a change.
I want and need him to shut up.
No, I think I said yesterday on the show, after you look at the La Ola proposal, I said, if Terry came out with a building, whatever the height is allowed to be, a restaurant with a rooftop overlooking the beach and places to sit outside, people would fall over in support of that, even though it's Terry Prasad. I think they would, because they would love that kind of restaurant on the beach. People want to be on that beach.
Well, I think it's important to note that what you feel or how you feel about a person's character or person themselves, It has nothing to do with what's being proposed. If you own the land, you have property rights.
Right.
If you want something more, you have the right to ask for that. Then you have to go through the entire process, which we all know through the LPA and the council member, and it will get decided whether or not it meets the need, and then it gets built or it doesn't. But it has nothing to do with who the person is.
Well, you have to say that. I don't, but I hear what
You
you're
can
saying.
say whatever you want, but I
Right.
You
And I don't have a
you can
vote.
shut me down. Did you, when you were talking about the FEMA discount coming back, is it that you're now just off probation, or is it, and the discount is definitely coming back at 25%,
No.
or you're just, okay?
no,
Because he misspoke the other day, and I want to make
Yeah,
sure
no,
you set the record
we've
straight.
gotten an official letter. If you read through the letter, it tells you on November 18th, we will be off of probation, which allows us to get back into the community rating system, the CRS program. Doesn't guarantee that you're going to get a discount back. And if you read
And or how much?
or how much,
Okay.
they will evaluate our policies. Are we meeting or exceeding the policies that are in the guidelines by FEMA? If we are, then you can be eligible to be off the 10, because it goes from 10 to 1 and it's backwards. So
Right.
the higher the number, the bigger the discount. We were at a 5. Previously, before the storm, we were at a 7. We were moved up to a 5 based on floodplain regulations that were implemented by the previous administration, which I was on the council when that happened. But Roger and his staff worked hard to make sure that we were being more resilient than what was required. So that allowed us to move from a 7 to a 5. After the storm, we were put on probation, which we lost our discount, which brought us back to nothing. So if you get back in, the worst is the 10 and the best is a 1. So
Right.
our goal is to get back at least a 5 or improve upon it.
By when?
Mhm.
If everything goes according to plan, April 1st of next year, and that has to do, because my question, someone's asked, well, did you ask when you had the meeting with FEMA, why does it have to take so long? Yes, of course I asked that question. Evidently, FEMA has to let the insurance companies know, and this is their explanation. FEMA has to let insurance companies know this municipality, they are approved through the CRS discount program to be able to receive
Right.
X discount. So that gives them time to be able to let them know.
Yeah, they can't be changing it willy-nilly every month, who's on, who's
Right.
off, what's
We'll
going on.
know before the end of the year whether or not we're back in the good graces of that program and what discount, if any, we will get. We'll know that before the end of the year. Because they're
All right.
going to come down and meet with staff, go over all of our
Right.
policies, and they're going to visit some of the properties that they have issues with. And if you read that letter, they didn't name specific properties, but it was very, very to the point about what they are going to be looking for.
So,
So it's clear.
It is crystal clear, in my opinion. And now it may not say
Now,
specific businesses, which they won't do, but
Right.
it's very clear on what they're going to be looking for.
somebody wanted to know if you could take that list that you read and post it on your Facebook page, or
Yeah, I'd
can
be
you
happy
make it
to, yeah.
public so people
Yeah.
can take a look at
Yep.
that and maybe explain why you did that. We are going to have a show next Sunday for Mother's Day, everybody, after the race on Saturday, just so you know. Does anybody have any
We
questions for Dan? Okay, yes, Joy.
I did.
Wyndham.
Oh, that's right. You're asking me a question? Are you yelling at me?
They're asking about the Wyndham project.
Holy shit, I can hear you. Everybody, they can hear you on the south end, for crying out loud. Jeepers creepers. Yes.
In fact, I'm getting a call from Bonita Council. Can you tell her to be quiet?
I can tell you who it is. I got a call last night from Chris Weber, who I know is working closely with the demo company. Even Chris isn't real happy with how slow he said, I'm going to go out there with a hammer and knock the rest of that building down. But apparently they're friends with the owner, and the owner wants to try and keep his legacy alive by at least having something down there. So that's what their plan is, to try and propose a tiki bar, a pool, a swimming pool, and a restaurant on that property. I don't think he understands yet whether he has to go high or whatever the rules
And again,
are.
I'll go full circle back to the beginning. If you, and this is not, I know they're not an advertiser of yours, I'm guessing it would just happen to be a situation where we walked into this place and it just hit me that if you haven't been to Bimini Bait Shack, imagine something like that on the beach. It makes you feel like you're in old Florida and you're looking at the water and the boats and the people. And it's just, it was pretty magical. It made me remember why I chose to live here. And that is my vision of seeing things on the beach. If you can do that, again, if money and zoning was no option, or no object.
Right.
You know, it's not my money.
Do you know do you know in that spot if they have to go higher or they're even allowed to build
Where at?
at the Wyndham property?
Oh no, they have the rights to build. So depending on where the coastal construction line is, they, you know, obviously we all heard over the last couple of months, your property line goes to the mean high water line, but there is that coastal construction line that you can't build past. So what you've heard in some of the proposals or all the proposals, if you're on the beach, you can't count that land into your calculation. If you could, the numbers would seem much lower, but because you're building back, you can't count that land and that square footage of that land into your calculations. So can they build back on that property? Absolutely.
They got a lot of property.
They got a lot of property there. I mean,
But
they
are
could
they in
probably
the V zone
build.
because they're
Well, of course they would be.
Yeah.
I'm guessing they'd be in the V zone.
'Cause
I don't
they're
know that off
first-
the top of my head, but they can build. They would have to elevate.
they'd definitely have.
They would have to elevate. Now, whether or not they could build at ground floor with dry flood proofing, I don't have a map in front of me. I couldn't
Right.
tell you that, but yes, they could definitely elevate what that elevation is and whether or not they could. I would think that as far away from the water as they are, they probably could do dry flood proofing on the lower level.
Okay.
So they have a lot of options there. that
'Cause
they
they
could
have a
do.
lot
The
of
view,
property.
no matter what. The
They have
view
a
will
ton of,
be
I mean, anybody that
phenomenal.
ever went to Pinchers, I mean, it was a long walk to the beach, but it was always beautiful. When Devin and Adamus would play there, you know, people would be set up in the beach right
Oh, no
outside
kidding.
there. I mean, and they would watch. And did you know I used to be a waiter?
I can't picture that, Dan. I
I
can
used
only
to-
picture you as
I used
the
to
mayor.
I used to be a waiter at Pinchers
Really?
when I first moved down here. Yeah, it was really fun. It was a lot of
I
running
can
through the
see you with your
sand.
hand back, and
I made a good waiter.
I
believe
bet
it or
you
not. I
did.
did. I was
does he wait on you?
So
She said no for the record.
That's not
just
true.
I know people down there
Had
are
rubber feet all the time. Give her back massages.
Relax, guys. I know people down there were also mostly a lot worried about the beach access because that was a nice beach access, and that will be part of what they want to do. So, I mean, obviously, it was just the first time we heard about it was yesterday, but that would be kind of cool down there, and I think people would.
Yeah.
That's one of those things where public benefit. Nah, we don't care. That's a whole public benefit right there. But
Not the weed.
especially if you build by right what you're allowed to build, then you don't even need to worry about stuff
Well,
like
that's
that.
the thing. Property rights. I mean, you have a right to build what you can build, and
Thank you, Aaron.
And you have
Yeah.
a right to ask for more.
So, are you a fan or not a fan of Jackass Coffee?
I haven't had it. I mean, I know it comes highly recommended from Anita, but that was a wonderful. If you don't know Anita,
It was
that moment
yes.
was totally Anita. It
Yep.
was she was. I mean, she's so well spoken, and
Yeah.
she carries herself very well, and we were
But
listening.
she's
We were
so
listening
good
to
at
it.
laughing at
We were
herself.
listening to it in the truck, and we both started laughing. Like everybody in the audience started laughing, and to see her she I'm laughing because of her laugh. She's just like, oh, so silly. Like,
Yeah.
she's got just that gracefulness of oh, I messed up.
I talked to her.
I'm surprised you don't have a thing for Petey that says I'm here for the Jackass coffee.
Yeah.
I talked to her
Well,
about it.
people were asking about shirts that
I talked
Yeah.
to her about it this morning, and I said, the people looked at that, and every time I look at it, I just burst out laughing at it. And the audience at the Island Pancake House heard her say it, and they're laughing before she even realized that she said it until they went like that. It's badass. And she said everybody that came into the store was talking about it, and it was a classic.
She
It
should
was a
carry some
classic.
Jackass coffee mugs in her.
And then, of course, this morning she's like,
In her store.
I need to get the owner's name and number so I can apologize to the
I
right.
know. That's going to do more for that
Yeah.
business.
I think that's
than-
what she said.
I
They
think
are.
you might have just improved their business because if
Yeah.
we've all had customers that
They're
are
going to have a jackass.
they're not
brand.
always polite. They might get the Jackass cup.
Yeah,
instead of
that's
the
right.
Jackass
Yeah.
cup.
I'm sure my picture will be on that cup.
Uh-huh.
Jeez.
Right
It's already in
here?
print, I'm guessing.
Is there anything else you want the millions and millions of people that are watching?
No, I think we covered it all. Tomorrow's a big meeting. We're looking
Yes.
forward to it.
What is your over and under on the time of the meeting, the length of the meeting tomorrow?
Well, let's say 1:30.
1:30. Is that including a 30-minute presentation from Patrick or longer?
Patrick can take as long as Patrick would like.
No, I think that that's a great project, and I'm looking forward to.
You
all
better
that
get a
happening down
cushion
there.
for your chair, dear. He is constantly complaining of his back now. He's
I
like,
bought a nice chair that has a big back on it, and it's very cushy. About 6 weeks ago, it's still sitting in the box because I have no idea how to put it together, and I'm
Yes,
afraid to open the
right.
box. So.
I have not put it together
Yes.
yet.
I think after today, there might be a few loose bolts. if you
That's
put it
right.
together.
That's
He'll go to
right.
lean back.
We were talking about life insurance policies last night.
Yes, we were. Thank you very
That'd
much.
be a
And the
fundraiser.
pillow is on order for
Yes.
those who get that reference.
All right, we all
The
set.
mayor of
Yeah.
Fort
All
Myers
right,
Beach, everybody, Dan Allers. Yes, thank you, Dan. Great show that you've given us here, and these hours fly. Holy crap! It's an hour and 20 minutes. Wow, I apologize to everybody here for making you stay this long, but please don't hang up the phone yet. I need to tell you about one of our sponsors here. He's going to tell you himself. Tom Coleman is in the house, everybody.
Good morning.
Go ahead.
Aluminum. We specialize, like I always say, soffit, fascia, and gutters. I do want to clarify something for those who are out there listening. What we do is aluminum and vinyl soffit and fascia. So if you have wood soffits or anything composite, you got to get a particular person who specializes in that, a carpenter or etc. But we also do pool cage repairs. You get a door that's missing, or maybe the dog's leash got caught on the doorknob and you got to come back and replace it again, Kim. But
Yes,
yeah.
it's working fine now. Thank you very much.
Eagle Eye Aluminum, 239-340-1639. Ed,
I know.
that's the phone number you give out.
So somebody sent me an email asking me for his information. So I sent him his personal phone number, and he's like, "No, don't. I didn't know that there was a different thing. We all have one phone these days, but I didn't know you had
that way
two."
When I go on vacation, I take the work phone, give it to my son/business
I
partner.
see. Good idea.
I'm on vacation mode.
All right, Eagle Eye Aluminum. You have a website. You have
I got a Facebook page out
Facebook
there. We're going to
page.
be updating some more photos we got here recently. And
sweet.
So
Thank
everybody
you
have
so
a
much.
Great day.
Thank you so much for sponsoring the show. We appreciate it. Also want to tell you about Alex King, everybody. Alex King is creating dreams and elevating lifestyles. If you need to buy or sell property on Fort Myers Beach, he is the person you want to call first. Alex King. You see him on Facebook. You see him donating money by the bucket loads to all the events that are. I bet you Alex King might donate a little bit to the fireworks because he donates to everything else. And we're going to have a conversation about that, everybody. Because how cool would it be when the fireworks were all yellow? All yellow. That's all we're going to see in the sky is all yellow. Unless it's foggy, of course, then you won't see shit. Alex King is the person you want to call to buy or sell property right here in Paradise. 239-219-0336. 239-219-0336. And also, finally, Michael Stewart. If you want a house constructed and engineered so that it doesn't fall down in the dirt, you want to give Michael Stewart a call. He can design any structure. It can be residential. It can be commercial. He also designs mechanical, electrical, and plumbing. The first person you want to call when you're thinking about rebuilding or building or putting anything in the ground is Michael Stewart. Rock solid reputation. You get Michael Stewart, you get Alfred from Studio AD, and you avoid the man without a plan, and you're going to have yourself a nice house on this beach or a nice building on this beach. Michael Stewart's phone number, and I don't think this is his personal cell phone number, is 239-292-7670. 239-292-7670. Or you can check him out online, mstewartpe.com. mstewartpe.com. Think about how you can bundle together $500, and in, I think, 48 hours, we could raise $37,500 for yellow fireworks. Thanks for tuning in, everybody. And I would just like to extend an invitation to Bill Veach, if he's out there, to come on the show and talk about the recall, if he would like to do that. Maybe a special Monday night show with the former council member and explain the recall. And that's 30 minutes of free advertising about the recall. Please share that with him. I know he doesn't watch the show, but you never know. Maybe he'll do an interview. Thanks for coming to Wahoo Willies, everybody. See ya.